Imagine this. The world strips everything from you, and yet you still rise. You stand in the emptiness, with nothing but the raw, cold reality of your own existence. The storm is fierce, the winds relentless, and the night feels like an eternity. But even in that moment of utter despair, something within you stirs. A whisper of resilience, a flicker of light in the midst of darkness. And it is here, in this darkest hour, that your greatest purpose begins to reveal itself. In the face of suffering, the human spirit finds its true strength. It is not in the moments of triumph that we discover our deepest selves, but in the times when all hope seems lost, when the weight of existence presses down upon us like a crushing force. This is the paradox of life. Suffering is not just something we endure, it is the crucible through which we are forged. Viktor Frankl, a man who lived through the horrors of the Holocaust, understood this truth with a depth that few could ever comprehend. He learned that even in the most unimaginable suffering, the human spirit can transcend, can rise above the pain, and find meaning in the most hopeless of circumstances. Frankl's insights were not abstract concepts. They were born from the raw, visceral experience of life itself. He wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." This is the cornerstone of his philosophy. The freedom to choose how we respond to our suffering, to choose how we confront the storms that life inevitably brings. In that freedom, in that moment of choice, we find our true power. You may be wondering, as you sit with your own suffering, if this could possibly be true. Can suffering really lead to something greater? Is it possible that in the deepest darkness, there is a hidden purpose waiting to be discovered? The answer is not simple, but the answer is there, if you dare to look. In every soul's darkest night, there is an invitation to go beyond the self, to find meaning in the chaos. And that meaning, once discovered, becomes the very fuel that drives us forward, even when the world seems to conspire against us. The process is never easy. It is not for the faint of heart. But then again, who are we, if not beings capable of immense courage, of strength beyond measure? Each individual carries the capacity to rise above their circumstances, to transform their suffering into something of profound meaning. This is where the essence of Viktor Frankl's teachings comes alive. The truth that suffering, when faced with purpose, can become the very catalyst for transformation. Consider the Stoic philosophers, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, who, like Frankl, knew that the external world is often beyond our control. We cannot always dictate the circumstances of our lives, but what we can control, what we always have the power to control, is our response. The Stoics, too, understood that adversity is not merely something to survive, but something to embrace. In the harshest winds, they saw opportunities to cultivate virtue, to strengthen their character, to expand their soul. This was not a denial of pain, but an acknowledgement that pain, when approached with wisdom, can unlock a deeper understanding of self and existence. Think of the modern psychological research into trauma and recovery. Every survivor of trauma knows the truth. Healing is not linear. There are moments of despair, of feeling as though the wounds will never close. But in the process of recovery, something extraordinary happens, something that goes beyond just survival. People who have faced their darkest days often emerge with a new sense of purpose, a deeper understanding of their own resilience, and a greater capacity for empathy and connection. They discover that the meaning of their lives was never about avoiding suffering, but about learning how to move through it with dignity, strength, and grace. This is the key. Meaning is not something that can be given to us from the outside. It is something we must create within ourselves through the choices we make in the face of suffering. It is the attitude we choose to adopt when we are confronted with the pain of the world. And in that attitude, in that conscious choice to rise, we find the power to transcend. We are not defined by our suffering. We are defined by how we choose to meet it, how we choose to respond to it. So, when the storm comes, and the night feels like it will never end, remember this: you have within you the capacity to rise, to face the darkness, and discover the light that is hidden within. The suffering you face is not the end of your story, but the beginning of your transformation. And in that transformation, you will discover a deeper, more profound meaning to your life, one that cannot be taken from you, no matter what the world throws your way. In that pivotal moment when the storm rages and the darkness feels all-encompassing, there is an unsettling but undeniable truth that begins to take shape within you. Your suffering is not in vain. It is, in fact, a vital part of the human experience, a thread woven into the very fabric of your existence. As Viktor Frankl so profoundly recognized, what is to give light must endure burning. This paradox, this truth, is what allows you to begin to see the deeper, often hidden meaning in the suffering you face. Imagine, if you will, the power of choice that you still hold in your hands, even in the face of life's most ruthless storms. There may be nothing left in the external world to control, no certainty, no promises of smooth paths ahead, yet in that moment, you still have one ultimate power: the freedom to choose how you will respond. And in this choice, your true strength lies. It is in choosing your attitude, your perspective, your purpose, that you transcend the circumstances. It is in choosing to embrace the suffering rather than be crushed by it that you unlock the potential for transformation. This is the essence of Frankl's logotherapy, the concept that the quest for meaning is the primary force that drives human beings. For Frankl, life's meaning is not found in the absence of suffering, but in the very way we confront it. It is not something that can be handed to us on a silver platter or offered by others. It must be unearthed from the depths of our own soul. This is why Frankl's words resonate with such power. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. It is a call to embrace the suffering, not as a burden, but as a crucible of transformation. In these moments of unbearable pain, when it seems as though all is lost, the opportunity to transcend begins to unfold. It may not be an easy journey. You may falter. You may doubt. But it is precisely in those moments of uncertainty that the seeds of strength are planted. When faced with despair, it is not weakness to question the purpose of life. It is human. But in that questioning, in that wrestling with the meaning of it all, there lies the potential for growth. The most resilient individuals are not those who avoid suffering, but those who find the courage to look it squarely in the face and say, "I will not be defeated by this. I will find meaning here. I will rise." Consider the example of those who have endured physical, emotional, or psychological trauma. The path to healing is rarely straightforward, but in the very act of confronting that pain, something remarkable occurs. The wounds that seem like they may never heal become the very catalysts for change. The trauma, once a source of isolation and suffering, becomes the source of newfound purpose. The person who has suffered deeply often emerges with a profound understanding of themselves, an empathy for others, and a resilience that was unimaginable before. It is a testament to the truth that suffering, when met with meaning and purpose, can become the very thing that strengthens the soul. This process of transformation through suffering is not limited to extreme examples either. Each of us, in our everyday lives, faces challenges, obstacles, and hardships that test us in different ways. The loss of a loved one, the failure of a dream, the weight of a difficult decision, each of these moments offers an opportunity to choose. And it is in choosing to face these moments with dignity, with courage, with an unwavering commitment to find meaning in them, that we truly live. We are not merely surviving. We are living with intention, with purpose, with a sense of responsibility to ourselves and the world around us. The Stoic philosophers, who have long guided us through the storms of life, taught us that it is not the events of our lives that define us, but the way we choose to respond to them. Marcus Aurelius, writing in his Meditations, reflects on this truth when he says, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is the heart of resilience. The idea that the very obstacles that seem to block our path are, in fact, the stepping stones to our greatest growth. The suffering we face does not define us unless we allow it to. And by choosing to transform that suffering into strength, we transcend it. In the depths of despair, you may feel alone. You may feel as though the weight of the world is too much to bear. But remember this: you are not alone in this experience. Every human being, in one way or another, faces suffering. It is part of the human condition. What matters is how we choose to meet it. Will you succumb to despair, or will you rise and create meaning from the depths of your pain? As you stand at the crossroads of suffering, remember that you have the power to choose. You can let the darkness overwhelm you, or you can choose to see it as the birthplace of your greatest transformation. The path is not easy, but it is the only path that leads to the fullest experience of life. And in that journey, you will uncover the deepest meaning and purpose of your existence. In the quiet moments of solitude, when you are left with only the echoes of your own thoughts, it becomes clear: you are more than your circumstances. You are more than the sum of your pain and suffering. In fact, it is through embracing the very suffering that seems to diminish you that you come to realize your true power. For as Viktor Frankl so profoundly taught, suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning. The pain, once an overwhelming force, is transformed into something different, something sacred, an avenue to discover who you truly are, beneath all the layers of societal expectation, beneath the weight of past traumas, beneath the masks you have worn. It is in the darkest places, in the most barren of landscapes, that the most beautiful seeds can take root. But these seeds need care, patience, and, above all, faith. Faith that even in the depths of despair, there is something greater than the suffering itself. Faith that within the struggle, there is a purpose waiting to be discovered. Frankl's experience in the concentration camps is a haunting yet powerful testament to this truth. Though stripped of everything, his family, his home, his dignity, he found a way to rise, to find meaning in the midst of unspeakable torment. It is not the absence of suffering that creates meaning, but the way we confront it. This is the nature of human existence, a constant interplay between suffering and transcendence. Life does not guarantee that we will be free from hardship. In fact, it guarantees the opposite. But what we are guaranteed is the freedom to choose how we respond, the power to define our own meaning, and the ability to transform adversity into strength. This is where the real freedom lies, not in avoiding pain, but in how we embrace it, how we transcend it, how we rise above it to find the purpose that lies hidden within. There is a saying in Stoic philosophy: "The obstacle is the way." This concept does not merely suggest that we should endure hardship, it challenges us to see hardship as a tool for growth. The trials of life are not barriers to our happiness or peace. They are the very instruments by which we are forged. It is in these moments, when the world feels like it is crumbling, that we are given the greatest opportunities to define who we truly are. When everything external falls away, we are forced to look inward, to tap into the deep well of inner strength that resides within all of us. This is not a strength that can be seen from the outside, but it is a strength that shapes every decision we make, every action we take, and every challenge we face. In choosing to embrace suffering, you choose to take responsibility for your life. Responsibility is not merely about duties or obligations. It is about the profound understanding that we are the architects of our own fate. We are not victims of circumstance. No matter how dire the situation, we still have the power to shape our response. Frankl, in the concentration camps, recognized this truth. No matter how dire the external circumstances, no one could take away his ability to choose his attitude toward them. This choice, this ability to respond to suffering with dignity and meaning, is the essence of human freedom. It is here, in the face of hardship, that the transformative power of meaning begins to unfold. The power does not come from changing the external world, but from changing our relationship with it. When we see suffering not as an obstacle, but as a medium through which we can grow, we find that we are not only capable of enduring, it becomes possible to transcend. To transcend is to rise above what we were once confined by, to find the strength to break free of the limiting beliefs and false narratives that kept us bound. It is to live a life of conscious choice, of ownership, of responsibility. You are the author of your story, and though suffering may be a chapter in your narrative, it is not the end. In fact, it may be the beginning of something far greater than you ever imagined. As you move through the inevitable challenges that life presents, remember that you are not defined by what happens to you, but by how you respond to it. The external world may strip you bare, but your soul, your essence, cannot be touched. And it is in the space between your suffering and your response that the most profound transformation occurs. Your darkest night is not the end of the road. It is the beginning of the journey toward your greatest purpose. Each moment of pain, each moment of uncertainty, holds within it the potential for transcendence. Embrace the suffering, welcome the challenge, and in doing so, you will discover the deeper meaning that has always been within you, waiting to be realized. As you continue down this path, remember the words of Friedrich Nietzsche. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. The meaning you find in your suffering will give you the strength to endure, to rise, and to become the person you are truly meant to be.